Kadi Kamara, president of environmental activist group Vacances Vertes, addresses the crowd at a march in Dakar, Senegal, on October 29, 2022, ahead of the 27th annual UN Climate Conference, COP27, scheduled to take place in Egypt to demand world leaders increase their climate ambitions at the local. Guy Peterson/AFP via Getty Images, as UN climate negotiators meet for their 27th annual performance, or rather, conference, in Egypt. Sponsored by Coca-Cola, they are poised to continue leading the world down the path of false solutions that put the burden of climate change on marginalized calm. To have any hope of saving the planet, we must arm ourselves with the knowledge to recognize greenwashing, debunk false science, and push for real climate solutions. Fossil fuel emissions need to peak by 2025 to stay under 1.5 degrees Celsius of global warming, and to achieve this, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC, recommends a 43% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions by 2030. Based on the pledges and commitments made by countries, not only are we going to overshoot 1.5 degrees Celsius, but current emission pathways point to a rise of over 3 degrees Celsius within this century. The remedial actions are obvious. We must reduce greenhouse gas emissions and take a rights-based, gender-responsive and non-market approach to climate change adaptation and mitigation. This approach should be rooted in a recognition of the traditional knowledge, wisdom and roles of indigenous peoples and local communities. We must reduce greenhouse gas emissions and take a rights-based, gender-responsive and non-market approach to climate change adaptation and mitigation. Current solutions, peddled by our so-called political leaders and big business, such as carbon offsetting and burning of biomass for energy, do very little to reduce emissions. Instead, they rely on market-based mechanisms that turn carbon into another tradable commodity, shifting responsibility for implementation to poor communities in the South, while allowing developed nations to continue their emissions-fueled economies. This scenario, as we well know, is an existential threat to the future of life on our planet. How did we get here? Corporations have captured global climate policy. Led by fossil fuel companies, big agribusiness, their financiers, and the technology giants, they are using all their might to resist the systemic and structural changes needed to overcome the climate crisis. They are drowning out the voices of the South and shifting the burden of emissions reductions to vulnerable communities and their territories, the indigenous homelands, forests, pastures, fertile farmlands and commons that are the lifelines of these communities. Last year, with the world reeling under the COVID-19 pandemic, northern countries at COP26 not only thwarted calls for a dedicated facility to finance loss and damage caused by climate change, they outright rejected an immediate halt to fossil fuel production, including coal burning. On the other hand, the UK presidency, backed by the same fossil fuel companies and carbon cowboys, forced an agreement to operationalize an international carbon market and unleash false solutions that are not based on science, will not lead to emission reductions, and will further aggravate the sea. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.